Hey guys, so here's part 2 of the 5.2 notes. We're going to be graphing rationals when we have h and k. So this is when we have our transformations. So how do we determine our horizontal asymptote? So to figure out the horizontal asymptote, basically what we're going to do is that's going to be our k value, okay? So whatever that is going to be y equals k. Okay, and then our vertical asymptote, that's going to be dealing with our denominator. So all we have to do is set our denominator equal to 0. So basically, if we had x minus k equals 0, that means our x is going to be whatever h value, not k. So we have x minus h equals 0. There you go. Whatever the h value is, that's our vertical asymptote. Okay. So remember with h, that means we move either left or right. And k means we move up or down. Okay. Now, usually when we have our h and k and we're graphing this, usually we graph the parent function and then we translate. But we're going to kind of treat this a little bit differently just because we are going to have a different type of rational function that will use these same ideas here. It'll make it a little bit easier to remember. Okay, how do we figure domain and range? Well, remember, domain deals with your vertical asymptote. So it is always going to go from negative infinity to whatever the vertical asymptote is, the u, and the vertical asymptote to infinity. Well, the range is going to deal with your horizontal asymptote. So we're going to go from negative infinity to whatever the horizontal asymptote is, and then horizontal asymptote to positive infinity. And that'll be for every single time that we do any rational function. Really, these simple ones. Okay, let's do some practice here. Okay, we're going to graph y equals 6 over x minus 2 plus 3, and don't forget to state the domain and range. So the first thing we should identify are the vertical and horizontal asymptotes. So let's talk first about the vertical asymptote. Remember, to figure that out, we're going to set what is in the denominator equal to 0 and solve. So we have x minus 2 equals to 0. So here we get x equals 2. So that's our vertical asymptote. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I have positive 2. And don't forget to write your equation. Okay. Now for a horizontal, that is whatever the k value is. In this case, our k value is 3. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3. Whoops, and I did that incorrectly. Reverse that. So here's my 2. I'll make that go down a little bit. And then y equals 3. Here we go. Yeah, so don't get confused. Yeah, just be careful when you're doing this. Kind of take your time. Okay, so now our next thing is the xy table. Now, just like we did with the parent function, we're actually going to take our vertical asymptote and put that in the middle, okay? And so we know with our vertical asymptote, the graph will never cross or touch it. So we know for the y, we won't have a y value. Now, once we have done our vertical asymptote, now we're going to pick two x values that are larger. So that could be like 3 and 4. And then two x values that are smaller, so like 1 and 0. There we go. So now what we're going to do is take these x values and plug them back into the original. So the y equals 6 over x minus 2 plus 3, okay? So let's say we plug 1 into there. So we went, I'll kind of do this to 1 minus 2 plus 3. There we go. So that will give us 6 divided by negative 1. So that gives us negative 6 plus 3 gives us negative 3. Okay, now plugging 0 into there, we get 6 divided by negative 2. And so that will give us, let's say, negative 3 and then plus 3. I think that gives us 0 there. Yeah. Okay, now we have to plug in 3. So now when we do that, I get 6 divided by 1. Then plus 3, that gives us 9. And then 4, I do 6 divided by 2, that's 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. There we go. Okay, so now we go ahead and plot these. So I have 0, 0, and then 1, negative 3. There we go. Now, the idea is that you do want to follow where the points are going as well as with your asymptotes. So I'm going to have to go this way, okay? And then 9 and 6. So I go over 3, so 1, 2, 3, and I go up 9. And then my 4 is going to be 6. And then I'm going to do the same thing. There we go. So basically your branches are going to follow where your asymptotes. So basically your asymptotes bound those branches there. There we go. Okay, so now that we've graphed, our last thing we need to do is figure out the domain and range. Now remember, domain goes off of the vertical asymptote. We said the vertical asymptote is 2. So all we have to do is go from negative infinity to 2, and then to infinity. Because remember, really what that is saying is that we are going to hit all the positive and negative x values except for 2. Now range goes off of the horizontal asymptote. And so our horizontal asymptote was 3. So we're going to go from negative infinity to 3, and 3 to infinity. And that's going to be our final answer there. Okay, let's do one more example, just like this. I would like you guys to go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. Okay, let's see how you did. So the first thing we need to do is figure out the vertical and horizontal asymptotes. On the first one, we said what is in the denominator equal to 0, so I get x equals negative 2. And so remember, that's going to go vertical. And then for our horizontal, that's going to be the k value. In this case, our k value is negative 1. So we're going to have y equals negative 1. Okay, once we have done that, now we're going to do our xy table. So we always place the vertical asymptote, which is in this case negative 2, in the middle. Then we pick 2 points that are smaller, so I would say like negative 3 and negative 4. And then 2 points that are bigger, so negative 1 and 0. Okay, so if I plug negative 4 into there, that gives me negative 2. Negative 4 divided by negative 2 gives me a positive, and then minus 2. And of course, you can put this into your calculator just to double check if you need to. Okay, when I plug negative 3 into there, I get negative 1. So that's 4 minus 1, that gives me 3. Know with our VA that we will not have a y value because we should cross it or touch that vertical asymptote. Okay, plugging negative 1 into there, so that basically gives me 1. So negative 4 divided by 2 gives me negative 2. And then negative 1, that gives me negative 3. And then plugging 0, that's always the easiest one. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. That gives us negative 3. Let's see. That's negative 3. Let me redo the other one. Oh, that should be negative 5. Sorry. Okay, so now we go ahead and plot these numbers. So I go to negative 4 first. 2, 3, 4, and I'm up 1. And then negative 3. I can plot these correctly. Let me go over one more. There we go. Negative 3, 3. 2, 3, up 1, 2, 3. So it looks like our graph is going to go something like this when we're bounded. Okay. And then the others are going to be in the negatives as well. So negative 1, we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 0, 1, 2, 3. And then that's going to go, and I'm going to go ahead and expand my vertical. There we go. So then I know where to go here. There you go. Okay. Okay, now from there we do need to do domain and range. So domain, remember, deals with the vertical asymptote. We said the vertical is at negative 2. So we go from negative infinity to negative 2. Don't forget the u, and then negative 2 to infinity. And then our range deals with the horizontal asymptote, which in this case is negative 1. So we go from negative infinity to negative 1, and then negative 1 to infinity. Okay. Okay, make sure you watch part 3. We're going to continue to graph simple rational functions.